Welcome to the blue ocean of compliance tips. I congratulate you that you have taken the decision to invest your valuable time listening to this video which I have recorded for you so that some CGMP concepts you may keep on your fingertips. So in blue ocean of compliance tips, every week I discussed any CGMP topic which is going to help you maintain the level of compliance on your site to a very high level. And if you will follow this, you will be able to face the regulatory inspections effortlessly. Yeah, only knowing and not doing is equal to not knowing. So whatever practices I'm discussing with you on regular basis, so those practices you will have to implement on your site so that you will always be in compliance and you will be able to maintain the compliance to that level, so that anytime if anyone comes, so your site will be always be in compliance. I am Dr. Rupali Paranjape, auditor, trainer and consultant for pharmaceutical industry, and I am also the best-selling author of book Blue Ocean of Compliance, which is there on the Amazon. And since last few episodes, we are discussing the topic of 5 important R's in the API manufacturing companies. In previous sessions, we have discussed about the rejection, about the return. Today we are going to discuss that what is the reprocessing of the material, whether the reprocessed batches should be validated or not validated, whether the reprocessed batches should be charged on stability studies or not charged on the stability studies, and if we are not charging the reprocessed batches on stability studies, then what should we do? And if repeatedly reprocessing is the outcome of the process, means even multiple times the same steps you have to repeat multiple times and in every batch, and you conclude that this reprocessing is the part of the procedure to obtain the material of required quality, then what should be done? And what APIC guidelines says about the reprocessed batches for stability studies? And if we don't perform the validation and if we don't perform the stability studies, then what is to be done? That whether the risk assessment is sufficient and not to validate the reprocessed batches is acceptable. So all these questions we are going to discuss in today's session of Blue Ocean of Compliance Tips. So do you remember that what are the 5 R's for which are very important for pharmaceutical industry? Do you remember that? Those 5 R's are rejection, reprocessing, reworking, recovery of the solvents or materials, and return. So out of these 5 R's, we have already discussed the return and rejection. So today's episode we are going to discuss about the reprocessing of the material. Do you know that what is the reprocessing of the material? Do you know that? Means reprocessing of the material means repeating any step or repetition of many steps or few steps or some single step multiple times, which is already part of the approved established manufacturing procedure, right? In reprocessing, you repeat some steps which are already approved, means which is already part of the established manufacturing procedure. So you are not deviating the process, but for some purpose, it may be for getting the material of the quality of the required specification. It is might be possible that to attain some level of specification or to get the material of required quality, you are repeating the step which is already there in your manufacturing process. Okay, so that is reprocessing. Might be possible to get some impurity reason or degradation of the products, Might be any of the reason you are repeating those steps. So that process is called the reprocessing of the material, and it is to be noted that it is not the deviation of the procedure, deviation of the approved procedure. So it is acceptable. It is also acceptable to the regulatory authorities also. Okay, but one thing you will have to keep in mind, that whenever you are reprocessing any material, and so you will have to keep the material for stability studies also, specifically when you are doing because of the impurities or degradation of the product. So in that case you will have to charge the reprocessed batches on the stability studies. So in this reprocessing of the material, it is also to be kept in mind that you can reprocess the material which is already complying the specification. Means your material is already meeting the standard of approved specification, but still you are reprocessing. For example, there are 2-3 tailing batches and you are mixing all approved batches. So material is already complying the specification. Now you are mixing all those 4-5 batches and you are creating another batch, and that batch you are going to use in the manufacturing process, further manufacturing process, right? If it is the previous step of the final API. Okay, so that reason, if you are reprocessing the material and you are mixing all the batches, and then you will have to charge that batch to stability study. Okay, and another thing, that you will have to perform the validation studies also. What APIC says you are reprocessing the materials, then reprocessed batch must be kept on the stability studies. And if you are not charging the batches on stability studies, then you have to take change control and you have to explain that why the batches are not being charged on the stability studies. Okay, so I think now you have understood that or recalled that what is the reprocessing. And another thing is to be noted, that if you are noticing that reprocessing is to be done multiple times. For example, there is any product, or there are any products in which certain steps repeatedly you have to perform the reprocessing. Okay, and again you have to repeat the steps, you have to reprocess the material, and then only you are getting the material of required quality. So you have to decide that reprocessing should be made as the part of the procedure. Okay, and if you are doing this, means again and again repeatedly you have to do the reprocessing of the material, this also shows that you do not have the control over the process. Okay, so you have to relook into that, and you have to finalize your process again. Another thing is that if reprocessing is performed, then the batches should be validated. Okay, so reprocessed batches should be validated, and if you are not validating the batches, then risk assessment is to be performed. Okay, so risk assessment, whenever you are performing, so make sure that you should have the sufficient stability data or supporting data, that you are not validating the reprocessed batches and you are only performing the risk assessment. Okay, so if you are not performing the validation, then you have to justify that, justify with the data, supporting data, that only performing risk assessment suffice the purpose. Now I would like to ask you that whether you want some other topic to be discussed in Blue Ocean of Compliance Tips. If you want, then please comment below the video, and whatever else you want to see, you can write on comment. Yes, but do not forget to implement all the learnings which we discussed in the sessions on your site. so that you will be already always ready to be inspected. And yes, you can start discussing within your groups also, with your friends also, and you can create a different world of compliance. Okay, so thank you so much. So this was today's session on blue ocean of compliance tips. Yeah, I appreciate your comments that what you liked in the session and what other topics you want to discuss. So I would really request you to write your comments what you feel about these sessions, because I record this session specially for you, and I also love to read your comments that what you feel about this program and about these sessions. Yeah, and also like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that you will not miss any of the recorded message for you. Dr. Rupali Paranjape is signing out until we meet again in our next Blue Ocean of Compliance Tips program. Thank you.